Hello, everyone. Welcome back to A Lawyer and a Mediator Walk into a Bar. It's Diane Loveday here from Bayside Mediation, and I want to welcome back Paula. For those of you who follow us regularly, you'll know that Paula's been overseas on a sabbatical. She's been in Tonga helping to expand our women and children's legal service in Tonga. So she's an amazing woman, and I'm really happy to have her back. Welcome home.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be back in Melbourne. Even if it's winter, it feels good.
I bet.
Maloalele to all the Tongans. Yeah, it was a very exciting time. I spent a year overseas.
We noticed.
Yeah. Thank you. My dog noticed too. Yeah. And my husband. In that order.
All the important people.
In that order. Lovely to be back.
Oh,
so many
great.
things have happened. So many changes have happened.
Well, yes.
In the family law
moved,
sphere here.
Moved firms, yes.
Yes.
And there's been significant changes with the Family Law Act, and that's something we touched on previously. Now there's a bit of case law and a bit of, there's some research in some of the changes that we should actually touch on some of these topics and just expand on them a little bit to help people understand exactly, again, the difference between how you deal with it and how I can deal with it. Yeah,
exactly.
And the first one I think we decided we'd have a chat about is family violence.
Very pervasive, very interesting, very evidence-based. Fact-specific. Can't just say family violence and expect people to understand because the definition is so broad.
Yeah.
You know, it does include bits of coercive control, financial control. It also expands now to family members doing it on your behalf. So, you know, if you have in-laws that are constantly berating you, and then these are things that take into account. The family violence aspect now has actually increased its weight as to how things are decided. But it's still very fact-specific. And you can't, there's a little bit of a tenuous balance between encouraging people to make these claims versus people actually having claims to make.
And because I'm off on that first contact and I am impartial and I do hear both sides of the story, it creates a really interesting space as a mediator because obviously it's evidence-based, which mediation isn't. Mediation is not evidence-based. It's a goodwill space, which I know everybody out there is going to think, you know, there's no goodwill when people separate, but you'd be surprised.
A lot of folks start off very agreeable.
Yeah,
That's the sad part is that they really do until somebody utilizes their power over the other and it's not so fair, but that's where you come in.
Yeah, and even where it's high conflict, I find if I've honed people, once I've spoken to both parties and I hone in on where they are aligned, I can build on that.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
that's a big part of the strategy in mediation is to work with what you've got basically and build out from that. And when it comes to family violence, I'm going to take on board what I'm told. I'm not going to call anybody a liar. I'm not going to call out anybody's behaviour. I'm not going to sit there and judge anybody in any way, shape or form. I have been known to offer support, complementary professional referrals, helping people work through their family violence issues, helping people find a path forward because I'm a strong believer in being strategic, which is really difficult if you've been 30 years in an abusive relationship. But just those first baby steps of taking yourself back, finding your own voice, getting yourself clear-minded.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
I think one of the first questions when they do finally come to me is like, are you in the mental space?
Yes. And
because, I mean, usually when I'm talking to them, they're in tears or there's anger.
Yep.
And I'm just like, okay, I need to understand, are you mentally ready for this? Because this is a process.
But space,
your part.
My space is, are you able to sit in the same room? Are you able to have a conversation? Do we need to do this in separate rooms? Do you accept that the other party is probably not going to acknowledge any of what you're telling me? No. Even if there's an intervention order in place, I will get really competing views. I'm not making any judgment calls. I'm not calling out behaviour. And I think this is where a lot of people who come and see a mediator really struggle at times, in that they expect me to take their hand and take their view and
Well, they expect an advocate sometimes.
Yeah, that's what they advocate for them.
Yeah.
And I can't do that.
No. And that gets tough because they think they're coming to mediation, and they are. They're coming to resolve things.
Yeah.
But that specifically means you're not advocating for anybody.
Exactly.
In
So
that
when
space.
it comes to the evidence base, which I love the fact that family violence is now included, and when we do our intakes, especially for property matters, we do run through the family violence requirements in the guiding principles and help people understand that should this go to litigation, these are the things that will be taken into consideration.
Absolutely.
So
it's not a surprise.
No, it shouldn't.
It shouldn't be a surprise.
It shouldn't be a surprise.
But I think sometimes the understanding isn't always as, and then not even deep, but even superficial understanding. They're just like, yeah.
Yeah, because I haven't done that.
Yeah.
It's all, it's all.
It's all allegations.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah. No, it's all lies. It's all, they're often a lot stronger than allegations. And the other one, the really telling one is that they did it to me.
Yeah.
It wasn't me doing it to them.
I was defending myself.
Yes. Or, and so it's for me, it's a really, while I love the fact that it's actually been now legislated and can be included, my role is to help people understand the process of what you need to do if this ends up in litigation. Yeah. So you need to collect evidence. So what are you doing to do to...
What do you have?
What do you have?
Okay. What have you put together?
What are the support networks you're using? Do you need me to direct you to a counsellor or to some other support network? What do you need from me to help you through that? But in mediation, we're going to set all of that aside and we're going to try and reach an agreement based on the fact that the two of you either have this money pool or you have children of whatever age, and we need to find a solution, an immediate solution to that. And can you then live with that solution? So it's a really quite a different...
Well, it's a full-on different approach.
Completely different approach.
I'm the advocate. I'm like, all right, bring it on. What do we got? But that is interesting because, and people are like, oh, and I can't tell you the number of times they come to me. It's like, yes, I have the evidence. I have the text message. And then I get the text messages and I look at them and go, that tells me nothing. Oh, but then there's this one. No. So that's been my avenue right now lately has been like, yes, I've got the evidence. So it's like, okay, well, you need to show me before we can have that discussion. I just can't go off of what you tell me.
No.
And
so what does constitute evidence?
Well, text messages. Now, people have this thing about recording people.
Yes.
And in Victoria, you're not supposed to without the permission, basically. Does that always work as far as relevant evidence in family law? Nope.
Oh.
I have had people sneak it in through a child impact report. And, because there's a process where you're supposed to present it to the court, get the okay to include it or exclude it. You get to fight about it. But most folks aren't doing it that way. They just, look, there's a therapy session coming up. There's a child impact report coming up. I'll just bring the recordings I've got. I'll just bring the video. I'll just bring, everything. Yeah. And that's how it gets in, because then the child impact report writer's like, oh, I was presented with this, but it hasn't been tested.
That's interesting. You've just given everybody an idea on how to get there.
I know. That's I shouldn't have. But but at the same time, you can still argue it later. It's just tougher because you can't unsee or unhear.
Unhear things, exactly.
A while back there was a matter, and that's exactly what the person had done. But interestingly enough, again, the recording that they presented was partially in their corner and partially in my client's corner. So the same tape that she was like, oh, but here's, only this part of it. And it's like, well, no, but if you listen to the rest of it, it almost exonerates what her context is. I mean, it's just an interesting process. It's not always foolproof. It's not always something that you can count on getting in. And part of me is like, well, if it's demonstrating family violence, which in this, it did. There was some yelling. There was some absolute evidence of family violence. But then the second part of the tape is the family violence is inflicted on the other party. So which side do you take? And is it really going to be relevant in the long run? That's the challenge because, maybe it was relevant at the time, yes. But the rest of the context of the evidence doesn't demonstrate a pattern, doesn't demonstrate
And that's the point. It's got to demonstrate a pattern of behaviour.
It's better if it does.
Yeah.
It's not absolute, but it's better if it does.
I'm loving this because I'm always telling my clients that family law is what's considered a discretionary jurisdiction.
Very.
And I call it, and I explain that there's a lot of wriggle room. There's no black and white. There's no guarantees. It's a lottery.
No.
So what works for one party may not work for the other party.
And I think
matter, not party. Yeah.
I mean, we can have all the case law.
Yeah.
And say, well, each matter is going to be fact specific. And even case law isn't going to match every element of your matter. So where we can do some things that's like, yes, yes, yes. But again, it's really going to come down to what you have as evidence, how it's presented, and if it's relevant. So that's the part I think we comb through a lot of things that are just like, well, maybe it's relevant if this is accurate, but it's not really relevant overall. So there have been many times I've had to talk to clients and they just insist, and they'll bring me a book.
Oh, yeah.
Bring me a book of
books.
text messages. Or now it is helpful if there's a parenting app because it can be downloaded and certified. Yeah. And,
okay.
Some of them come with all sorts of bells and whistles. They can tell you your tone is too aggressive, your tone isn't nice. I mean, you may want to revise what you're sending, and then there are others that it just helps me understand the context of the conversation,
which is important.
Well, that's the part people don't seem to understand. They like to pick and choose. And I was actually just having an argument the other day with a client, and they are very specific about this was relevant. I was like, nope. I'm not going to argue with you. Well, but they just kept pressing the matter like they were insistent. And I was just like, nope.
So how do we help out people who are listening to this who are trying to work out, okay, I'm trying to leave an abusive relationship? And I think we should expand the notion of abuse because we've all had clients where they've been made to account for every cent on a supermarket receipt, or they've not been able to have their own. Well, they have a credit card that a certain amount of money is allocated on a weekly or a fortnightly basis.
A budget.
One of the things I struggle with is this propensity for separate bank accounts or separate. Finance is completely separate, which is great if you've got it working. But generally, when you start talking to people, you find that there's been a fairly dominant party within the decision. There usually is a
dominant party.
Within the decision-making, and the other party is much more passive, and then they don't know. So this all comes under the heading of family violence. So there's a lot of things, but again, it's got to be evidence-based. It's got to be, how can you prove this?
And it's got to be relevant to the timing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if it's historical, like a matter, all the text messages with the vitriol and the antagonizing was over 18 months ago.
Too long?
Might be if it hasn't happened since.
Right.
So relevancy.
Right.
We had all this, but now it's been a year and a half, and neither party has done this. So is it really relevant to the matter now? The question's going to come around the context. Was this around him or her not paying something, booting them out of,
right. Okay, so the intervention order hit, and there was this peak of violence and abuse,
but once they separated,
and it all settled down, and it became much more reasonable, then that spike is not necessarily taken into consideration.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Well, we would have to balance that.
Yeah, you have to balance. Yeah.
So I always have to look at the factors around that. It's like, okay, maybe that was a time, and maybe they settled it down, but he's still reaping the benefit.
We do know that family violence, the statistically it is male dominated, but we both experience situations where there have been women who have been the aggressors or the controlling element in relation to finances or
family time with the children. Spend time with the children. I mean,
and I might at this point share a fairly sad experience last week because I actually lost 3 clients last year through suicide, all men.
Gosh. Yeah.
And I was contacted by a detective last week to provide some context around the final days of this man's life, and it was all predicated on the lack of access he had to his children, and it was deliberate and it was coercive in its demeanour. And you know, it's not just men, but I think we both agree that it does happen a lot.
I would suggest that my balance right now is probably 65-35. Mm-hmm. There are matters absolutely where it's, so I don't want to generalize it. Like you said, we don't want to generalize it.
Yeah.
We do have to have experience in one section more than another. But you're right. And as women have started equalizing as far as work and pay, and one client was like, I made all the money. I was like, yeah. Welcome to feminism.
I think I've said something similar.
Yeah. And I remember having a conversation with a gentleman who quizzed me for almost 45 minutes as to how would I advocate for him as a woman. First of all, I was stunned to have that conversation. And I was like, okay, well, straight up, I'm a feminist. I got a card and everything. But that only means that it's got to be more fair. I mean, this is what we fought for, was fairness.
Yeah.
And hello, if she's making twice as much as you, guess what, ladies? There's going to be some fairness factor.
Yeah.
But at the same time, women are still doing the bulk of the housework, bulk of the child rearing. But again,
the mental
evidence.
load, carrying the mental load. It's just... With those 4 guiding principles, and when I'm looking at the future and current needs, and there's a list we have on our paperwork that talks about the new things that have to be brought into consideration. One is family violence. I know wastage is there, and housing the children is there. They're all things that are relevant in relation to family violence, but they're not things that as a mediator I can necessarily enforce. Well, I can't enforce anything. I mean, I can just try and make people aware of if you take this down the litigation path, those things will be taken into consideration.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that happen much at all?
If I'm truthful, it has sprung up more this year. And there are folks who will just say family violence. And it's like, well, do you understand what that entails? Do you know what that means? Do you know what that includes? That includes your new girlfriend, your new partner can't be texting your ex, calling her names, calling her derogatory. Yeah, got a matter now where there's just so many messages. And they think they're getting away with it, but it's like, no, because it shows that it's a toxic environment for the children.
Yeah.
So it's, again, what can I show? What can I demonstrate? What's the context? And how is it relevant to the children? If the children are now taking that party's side, taking that new partner's side, and using those very same words to describe the other party, it has an effect.
Yeah.
It has a very derogatory effect.
On the children.
On the
Can
children.
we just say it's on the children?
It's on the children.
You
no
might
offense,
be
I don't care
targeting
about
your
you.
ex, yeah. But it is completely unnatural for children to reject a parent. And if your children are rejecting a parent, then you take a long, hard look at yourself around what is being said. Now, I get there are exceptions to every rule, all right? But I'm saying as a generalisation, kids still love you even if you're a dill. Yeah.
It's like good, bad, and ugly. They're their mom or dad.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
they bring something to the table as far as their growth.
Yep.
Whether, again, good, bad, and ugly. See, we try to minimize the ugly. We try to minimize the bad. We try to promote the good.
Yeah. And obviously a lot of that is age appropriate as well. Because once you've got a 16 or 17-year-old, they're going to be making their own decisions.
You know what I'm finding right now is that the children between 11, 12, and 13, those are the ones in the gap zone, so to speak, because the judge or the court's going to look at the maturity level. So there are cases where a 11, 10-year-old can have their wishes, not just determinative, but the court will spend time on their wishes.
Really?
Completely. But they've ascertained through court reports, family reports, the impact report, that this child has a maturity level, understands that both parents are important, has made a very mature decision.
Wow.
So for me, because, there are matters where people are like, oh, well, the 13 years old, the court's going to listen to what they want to say. It's like, well, no, not always. If you've got a 13-year-old acting out in tantrums and I want, and if you don't do this, I'm never coming to see you again, that's not a maturity level.
No.
That's a tantrum. So We call it as we see it.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
But now that other parent is, oh my gosh, I'm not going to see my child because now they're telling me they're not going to come see me because I won't do what they want to do. I won't let them do what they want to do.
Won't let me have the phone in the room after a certain time. These are the conversations I have often about
exactly
screen time and being on the same page with these things. And
no offense, I would much rather you have that conversation than me. Because those are the bits and bobs.
Yeah,
and they're important. I get that. But they're not so important to pay somebody $700 an hour. No offense to other lawyers.
I wouldn't mind that if you really wanted to.
So, if they came to you and said, okay, look, we've got the bits and bobs down.
Yeah.
These are the big things we can't figure out. Fine. We're not going to argue about these bits and bobs anymore. They're done.
Yep.
This is how you're going to move forward. This is what you do.
Yep. I think in terms of today's discussion, we probably have sort of covered nicely what constitutes family violence.
It's more, the definition is broader than you would expect.
Yes.
So, have some, look at it. You can look it up. You can chat GPT it. It'll give you the...
please don't come to me with the chat GPT.
No, I shouldn't say that. But what I'm saying is you don't, if you think about things that are just negative towards the other person, you're probably heading in that zone. That's just a good rule of thumb to me.
Yeah, no, that's a nice rule of thumb. But then the feminist in me says, well, if you've been raised with a sense of entitlement,
well, that's a fact specific thing.
All right, we move off that. But I'm saying, so there's and I used to explain to clients that in the old days, family violence was being hit. Now it's
physical.
It's physical. Now it's paragraphs long.
I still have clients going to the police department and they're like, okay, well, where are the marks?
Yes.
And you're like, there's supposed to be a domestic violence officer.
That's
we're going
to have to have that.
We're going to have the conversation later.
Definitely have the conversation around how intervention orders and our police service deals with family violence, because some do it brilliantly. Some, but far too many just are clueless.
But there's too many nuances too. In some ways, I can almost have empathy for the police that they come in and there's somebody who's coming in once a week. With something, and they're like, that just doesn't rise to the level. That just doesn't rise to the level. But again, that person who's reporting it starts building up.
Well, yeah. And what's building up to is the question.
If you work in the family violence field, you'll find more often than not that whoever is not the perpetrator, whoever's the victim, I hate to say the victim, non-perpetrator.
Non-perpetrator,
you will find that they understand when that level is rising, when that thing is escalating. And their only control is, when does the explosion happen?
Yep. And how do I keep myself and my children safe?
How do I keep, children are off. I can push the buttons now to make him explode, and then everybody will be safe again for another couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more prevalent than I could ever explain.
It's scary, isn't it?
But at least you're creating the pattern, you're showing the pattern, and in the context is right. At some point, it's going to build over, and the police will say, "Oh, but we've had all these other reports. Now we can include them." And that's the real tough part, because in the last 6 weeks, there's been 3 women killed.
No, 4.
4.
4. Four in 3 days.
That was So this isn't something that's small.
No, it's massive.
But how do you balance the build-up?
To
the actual action.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Sorry, we digress.
We digress again.
So to try to bring it back to the changes in the legislation, how you deal with it, how I deal with it, which are, my role is much more limited. And whilst I will offer a supportive role, I will offer options and ideas. I try really hard to help people understand how to progress their matter. And if it's going to go to court, this is what you need to do. These are the things you need to start to put into place. And also talking about keeping yourself safe. I'll be the first one to say, now you've started this process, go talk to the family violence officer at your local police station. Make sure you've got family friends, associates who understand, and you've got support networks in place. So I'm offering, my role is really, yes, I can get people even in really high conflict spaces to reach agreement around elements, even completely full parenting arrangements. I can get them to that point.
Yep. You
Will
can't,
they
and I've
last?
seen it.
Yeah. Some of them need to be reviewed again, and
Sure.
yeah, but that's just the nature of it. But if it ends up in litigation, you'd have to have an evidence trail. There's a lot of behaviour that is admissible, and a lot of it that isn't.
Right.
And that's where you need to really start to understand the legislation. I talk to people about education is power. You've got to understand the system, understand what you're launching yourself into. And this is where talking to somebody like you is really useful. And you are one of the most measured lawyers I have ever met. Yeah.
I'm going to take that as a compliment.
Please do. Please do. I've said to lots of parents this week that you do realise that the lawyers don't make money unless there's a fight. And I don't mean that in a nasty way or derogatory, but it is just the fact of the matter.
I have, unfortunately, half of my cases are with very adversarial counsel, solicitors, and they're writing letters left and right.
It's fantastic news that family law legislation now takes into account family violence.
Absolutely.
I think there's still a lot of tweaking to be done.
It's still going to be fact specific.
Yeah.
It's going to be what can I prove.
But I think there's also an education still needed with people within the system to understand what is admissible, what's not admissible,
What has to be tested.
And so we're getting to that point. It's starting to happen. And maybe we say to our listeners that as soon as there's enough case law that we can come back and give you some absolute examples,
concrete examples
of how this has worked or not worked, we'll be back and have that chat with you. All right?
All right. Thank you very much, everybody.
We will have a new website soon, so you'll be able to find us much, much more easily.
We're going to be a little proactive on a couple of things now.
Yes.
Thank you again.
If you like this episode, hit follow, drop a review, and share it with someone currently going through a separation. Catch you next time. Same bar, new stories.